remain reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Carol Sue.
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Ron Miller.
Present.
Chris Armstrong.
Here.
Approval of the minutes of the March 6, 2013 meeting.
I would make a motion for the approval of the March 6, 2013 meeting as presented.
I would second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd call for the vote on approval of the minutes. I'm sorry. Wrong meeting. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes on a vote of 3-0. Okay, approval of claims in the amount of $288,859.09.
I've reviewed them, and I would make a motion for the approval of the claims in the amount of $288,859.09 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0. There are no licenses to be considered today. Are there any changes to the agenda?
None.
Hearing none. Are there any visitor comments? Okay. Under old business, 204 West Ottawa Street, I believe that's code enforcement.
West Ottawa Street, the property owner called and left a message for me with Bill earlier in the week, and I did drive by yesterday. He has made significant progress on it. The sofa, the upholstered furniture is still there, but he does have dollar stickers on it. I need to address him concerning a truck topper that he's using as a dog house in the backyard and a couple other small items, but he has come a long ways on it.
Okay, so your recommendation is to extend it even farther?
For another week, yes.
Okay. And 312 West Linden? That's the garage? Is that the garage?
I don't remember.
No, 312, I'm sorry, 312 West Linden. Bob Ray, R-H-E-A.
Okay, that place is cleaned up and in good order now.
It's good.
Yes.
We can take that one off the list.
Yes. Actually, on that, it is in foreclosure, and she told me she would clean it up this time, but anything else, they were going to walk away from it.
Okay. And, okay, then.
I also had 700 Washington. We did drive past there again, and it's acceptable with what he's done.
Okay, 700 Washington.
How about the 211, 207 Linden?
I believe that Bill will have a report. He's got some information to follow up on that.
Okay.
We still no contact whatsoever with Jeff Murray.
Okay, we'll do that when Bill's up then. So we're going to grant an extension on 204 West Ottawa. We'll mark 312 West Linden as being complete, and 700 Washington Street. Did you say that one's complete as well?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Under new business, Pam Lehman.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. I want to talk to you about proceeding
Thank you.
with possibility of two-way streets in certain areas of the downtown. And we've done a proposal that we've been using as a PowerPoint to meet with different business owners in the community. We actually had our first meeting with them last Thursday. But if you look at what I've given you, the very first handout is a copy of the page from the Logansport Comprehensive Plan that was done back in 2009. And at that time, all the business owners in the community, in one way or the other, were contacted and were represented in developing this comprehensive plan. And one of the areas that they suggested that would be beneficial for the downtown would be the consideration of two-way traffic, particularly in the downtown area. So I wanted you to know that this isn't something that, an idea that I just came up with and said, oh gee, we need to make a change. This is something that the merchants and the downtown business owners, as far back as 2009, were interested in doing, seeing what we could pursue to do that. Problem was, we haven't had funding for it. So with the potential of the relinquishment money being available, if we were ever going to make a decision in favor of two-way streets in the downtown, now would be the time to do that. So we've started our initial meetings with different business owners, and so far, from those that have attended meetings and I've received emails back from, they've all voted yes. So we're going to continue to make certain, I mean, we have almost 180 some businesses in the downtown. So obviously when you get 20 or 30 that say yes, that's still a low percentage, but we're going to continue to solicit the different businesses, get their yes or no vote in writing, and you know, we'd like to approach you about being able to continue with this. Traffic and parking improvements on the PowerPoint. Inside the PowerPoint, and I can actually email this to you because when you see it on email, it really does present a better view than it does on copy. But project boundaries that we're proposing would be to take Market Street and East Broadway and convert those to two-way, going as far east as 24th Street. And then on Market Street, it would be from Market Street West to the bridge. The objectives. Our objectives in doing this would be to reduce confusion, particularly of motorists that come from out of town, trying to maneuver around our community with the current one-way streets. Potentially reduce cost, improve mobility, improve aesthetics to our downtown, encourage more downtown trips, and then we've also got a proposal in here that would address our storm water efficiency that we need in the downtown area. Existing configuration of downtown does show where the existing lights are and where the one-way streets are that we're proposing to change. We're proposing Market Street, East Broadway, 4th Street, and 5th Street. And then the next page shows existing configuration east, and it shows the three streets that are one-way east. It would be Market, Broadway, and all the way to 24th Street. Then our internal traffic signals that we probably have to rework and redo would be at Market Street, 3rd Street, 4th Street, 5th Street, 6th Street, and 24th Street. And then on East Broadway, we would have to do 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th to make those functional and change from a one-way to a two-way. We would have to have some different traffic signals than we currently have. The next page actually shows proposed configuration of the downtown, where those traffic signals would be placed should we be allowed to proceed. And then the next page shows proposed configurations east. And if any time you have a question, let me know. And then our proposed modifications would be to eliminate one-way streets at Market Street, East Broadway, 4th, 5th, and 24th Street. The possible addition of a median or turn lane on East Broadway from 9th Street to Eel River. What we have to keep in mind is these are things that we have proposed to do. Obviously, when you start getting involved with wanting medians and those kind of changes, you've got to get engineers involved, you've got to get the fire departments involved, we've got to make certain that the traffic pattern works, and that the in and out and having access to homes in the event that there were a fire and emergency would be conducive. And obviously, putting in a median, there would be some additional concerns that would have to be addressed. But again, we'd have to do that with the support of an engineering firm. On-street parking would remain, and we would be installing additional traffic lights, and we'd address traffic lights to address changes from one-way to two-way. And then the stormwater, we need to fix the problems with stormwater issues that we have from 6th Street to the confluence of the rivers. We added that in. The next page outlines the cost of what we feel the total project would be. This also includes engineering cost, any additional maintenance, and also includes the stormwater project. The benefits. Talk a minute about benefits. It was on Facebook apparently last evening, and I feel as though, most of the comments, I read through a lot of them, were actually from people that I felt were not totally informed about what we were really trying to accomplish. And maybe if they do know the facts and are informed about what we're doing, they might have a different view. But the benefit would be to increase traffic flow downtown. Twice as many people going by a business every day. Increased access to those businesses. More mobility means more customers. Traffic would then move at a more modest pace than it currently does. Slower traffic speeds and movement. Driver awareness would be heightened. On-street parking will serve as a buffer between pedestrians and moving vehicles. Decreased vehicle miles traveled by eliminate indirect routes, driving around the block to get to your destination. Returning one-way streets back to two-way allow better local access to businesses and residences. Two-way streets tend to be slower due to friction of oncoming vehicles. Eliminate the potential, and also eliminates potential for multiple threat crashes that exist on multi-lane one-way streets. When I went back through and looked at history of when and how we came about one-way streets, as far as a nationwide observation, after the war, and I remember this as a child, we became very afraid that we were going to have a nuclear attack in the United States. And as a result of that, the civil defense started going around and doing different presentations. I remember seeing one in school about how we should have shelters in our basements, what we needed to do and stock and supply those shelters. And one of the things that also developed during that time frame was the risk of being able to evacuate people at a faster rate. Thereabout in that time frame was when they started doing one-way streets all across the nation. In the late 50s, early 60s, to mid-60s, they started converting one-way streets in our downtowns to two-way streets to one-way streets. In doing that, they really didn't take consideration at that point in time of what it would do and how it would affect business owners. And, from my observation, again, if you look back, that's kind of when the downtown started dying out. It started being more offices, more banking, more financial offices. And retail merchants started dwindling. In our particular community, we had some assistance with some fires that also helped a lot of businesses move right on out of town. But still, when it comes to increasing the potential retail sales for our merchants in the downtown, the communities that have now gone back to two-way streets are finding that they're increasing their revenue 2 to 3 times just by making that change, because they have more people that go through their downtowns, more people that are going through at a slower rate of speed, therefore increased revenue. So that's a little bit of history, and there's a lot more of it, but that's kind of a summary. Disadvantages to keeping one-way streets in our downtown is we're going to have less traffic flow to businesses and continue that. Traffic is going to continue to go faster. We're kind of like miniature speedways that serve largely to frighten anyone who has the idea of strolling down the street. One-way streets tend to whisk customers out of our downtown. And all you have to do is just go look at some communities that have made changes. You can go on the internet and get all kinds of resources to the communities that have changed back to two-way streets, how it's affected their downtown, and those have been positive changes. If you want to go as close to Kokomo and take a trip and drive down through their downtown and see what it's done with their downtown community in the last few years, I think you'd be amazed. You know, I was even there yesterday, went back through their downtown again, and was just amazed at how many new businesses have even popped up in the last few months. But they're continuing to grow in their downtown. Retail is coming back to the downtowns. And in the communities that are having more success in the downtown, some of that and most of that can be attributed to going back to two-way streets. So that's what we're proposing, that we be allowed to continue with your approval, and we will continue to approach business owners and make certain that this is something that they want. And I hope that the public, once they become informed and educated, will also see the advantages of converting back to a two-way street.
Can you name another city besides Kokomo who's went this direction with reverting back to two-way?
In Indiana,
Yeah.
you know, I can't.
Okay,
I know
Kokomo.
there's several. I know Vancouver's done. Actually, Richmond did it.
Richmond?
Richmond was one that has
Lafayette?
done it and has done a really good job in the conversion. I don't know how long ago that was, but I do know that as a result of that, they've experienced a lot of growth in their downtown and big changes.
Okay, and then as I'm looking through your projected costs here, I think it sends chills down my spine, but I see $9,625,800, but I do want to point out that $8,813,000 of that is projected for stormwater improvements. That portion would come regardless of two-way streets or one-way streets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then I had another question about additional maintenance, $15,000 per mile. We're not adding any additional lane miles, and maybe I should ask Dan Williams that question, how we arrived at $15,000 for that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Dan can answer better than I can, and we'll let him do that. My understanding is that we're going to be adding additional lights, and as a result of that, that's part of that cost. And
You still have to maintain the streets. That's just a main.
Yeah, but it's not additional because we already maintain those streets, correct?
so actually, we could cross out additional and just put maintenance.
Okay, and this is preliminary, I know, but that was just a couple questions that popped out at me right off the bat. So I just want to make sure we're at where we're going. You don't want an answer today, do you?
Absolutely do.
I think you're going to be in trouble if you want us to convert them to two-way today.
No, I don't want you to. I want you to give us the permission to continue to go forward on this. And I do understand that obviously any change like this is going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to make certain this is what everyone wants to do. But in the meantime, I'm understanding that NDOT also wants our proposal, and if we're ever going to do this, then we kind of need to be able to proceed with NDOT to at least get an idea on whether or not we could even get the funding for it, because obviously if we can't get funding for it, we're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
It's not going to come out of taxpayers' dollars.
Sure.
Just can't.
I see Chief Clark with a question.
I would just ask, I haven't been privy to any of the PowerPoint or any of the information. I would like to be included in this. Mark hasn't either.
Okay. Yeah, this is the very first step, other than talking to downtown business owners, and that, I'm sure that we would broaden the base and try to include as many people as possible, and we definitely want to allow time for feedback, as well as involvement by NDOT, because again, as Pam pointed out, NDOT will be the key in how we move forward. I
Yeah,
see
if
another
they say
hand.
no, we're dead, we're done.
I see another hand.
Just another question on the PowerPoint presentation is that one of the keys is to get public awareness on.
Absolutely.
Is that something that the city could put on their website for the citizens to be able to look at?
Yep.
Or, I mean, Pam, is there someone, another organization has a website that we could do that to include everybody in the city on look at that?
You know, I've sent over 90 email, I have contacted 90 business owners by email. And then I've made personal visits to about 35 to let them know that we were going to start having meetings and we wanted them to attend. So, you know, we've started that first step. We've sent them all PowerPoint, but obviously if there was another way people could actually go to the city website and pull it off, that would be great.
Yeah, and if you provide that to us, I can make sure that it gets installed on the city's website.
But no, I'm just asking that, you know, my understanding is we had to come here before we keep proceeding on something like this,
Right.
especially with NDOT being involved.
And I think you're exactly right. You and I have had this initial conversation some time ago, and I think it's time to initiate the conversation with the public and to get them involved, and that was part of the purpose for this introduction today, to make sure that
Yeah, we're in the real early stage of this.
yeah,
So.
we are in the early stages, but with NDOT knowing that the Hoosier Heartland will be completed on 11/12/13, and the relinquishment will take effect before that, we have to be moving on this if we're going to.
Yes.
And whatever the outcome is what we'll happily live with, but now is the time to start the conversation.
Now's the time to start the conversation to at least, you know, see if we can get funding for it.
Right. Well, I'm not sure that we need official action from the Board of Works.
Mayor Franklin,
Yes.
I think Shirley would like to speak.
Okay, please, if you would come up and introduce yourself.
I couldn't hear him, but I didn't either, so.
All right.
I couldn't hear him.
Please, if you would state your name and address.
My name is Shirley Garrison. My address is 524 East Rose Lawn, Logansport. I am 78 years old, and I remember when the streets were two ways.
Okay.
And it was very, very hard to get through town. I don't know how they're going to synchronize the lights in order for the people coming down Broadway wanting to turn one way or the other, and if there's two-way traffic going this way, how they're going to turn on 4th Street, unless they're going to make 4th Street two ways, and that's even going to make it more calamity. And 5th Street also, you know, because it's very difficult to get through town when there's traffic coming both directions, and, you know, and even if they have the lights to where, you know, well, first, when the green arrow comes on, they turn, and then they can go straight and this and that and the other. They don't realize what the calamity it will be when they turn off of Broadway on Eel River Avenue going on out to Market Street. That's going to be a fiasco in itself. And I'm very concerned. I do a lot of driving, and I drive through downtown area several times a day. In fact, my average on a car is 25 miles a day. So, you know, I do a lot of driving.
Yes, you do.
And a lot of times I'm anxious to get through town, and if I've got to wait on this light and that light and that light, and how are they going to synchronize these lights going through town and making all the turns and this and that and the other? As far as bringing business back in downtown area, there aren't enough buildings in downtown area to subsidize any extra businesses, hardly. Maybe 2 or 3 businesses, and that's going to be about the extent of it. When they made the biggest mistake here in Logansport is when they put the parking meters out on the streets, and that took away the people coming in on Friday and Saturday nights to do their shopping, and I can remember all of this. And I just think it's going to be a terrible situation, and once you get it installed, it's going to be hard to uninstall it, and it's going to be a lot of wasteful money. You stop to think of how much traffic goes through on Market and Broadway each day, and how many semis is turning off of Broadway going down 3rd Street onto Burlington Avenue. I mean, here we got traffic going both ways there.
Right. And please understand that the downtown traffic patterns are going to change regardless of whether we want them to or not. When the
That's
state,
right.
when the state relinquishes the road, right now we have two options, and this is just for clarification to you, but right now the state intends to make High Street the new state road through town. It will not be Broadway and it will not be Market. We know that. Right now our option is to either have Broadway or High Street. And right now it's High
That's
Street.
gonna drive more people up to the mall because they're not gonna go parking in these city parking lots and walk 2 or 3 blocks. Especially like somebody like me, I can't walk a block.
There again, and that's part of the reason that we want to look at it, because I'm not sure that High Street is a wise decision to make as our main thoroughfare through town. But right now, that's the one that's been designated, so we're trying to provide the best answer early on so that we plan and do the right thing.
Well, I'm all for advancing the city, but I think that this is a very poor idea, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
I'm
sure.
sure you're more educated than I am in knowing what's going on with the city.
Well, thank you,
But
and
I
we...
did want you to be aware that it could cause a lot of extra heartaches for a lot of people.
Sure, and we certainly value your opinion, and we'll
I
consider that.
appreciate you listening.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time to be here. All right. Is there any other comments? I was going to say, I don't know that we need official action. I appreciate you taking the initiative to help us get the answers, and I would encourage you to continue reaching out to the downtown merchants. And I will be in contact with you to follow up and maybe a couple of other suggestions and see what we can get started on this. But, well, thank you very much. Were there any other comments regarding two-way streets? All right, hearing none. Mike Shannon with the Historical Society Bike Tour. Not here?
No.
Okay, we have a request. Would you like to?
This is their annual bike tour that they do for the Historical Society as a fundraiser. It starts at Little Turtle Waterway, and it'll go out to 3rd Street and head south, then east on Main Street, and then they turn south on Humphrey and go out into the country from there. There's 4 different routes once they're out of town, and they are requesting to have East Melbourne blocked from 3rd Street to the alley just east of the depot, 4th Street blocked from the alley on the north side of the old Salvation Army building to Melbourne. Anticipated time for the roads to be blocked is 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. on May 11th. And this is the same thing they've done for the past few years. They may also be having a car show in the area, but that's not a set thing yet.
Okay. I also see in the letter there's a request from the police department to escort the riders out of town for safety concerns. Chief Clark, are you familiar with this?
Yeah, there's no objection, we've done it manually.
Okay. Okay. Is there any discussion?
Has the street department seen road blocking? Okay.
No objections at all.
No objections. Okay. I do see mention of the $1 million insurance policy from Regions Insurance. I would make that a condition of approval, that be in place prior to the May 11th event. And I would make a motion that we approve this request with that condition.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0. Okay, reports, Building Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I provided a copy of my weekly report to each board member, if there's any comments. What we have 3 main construction projects going as noted. All projects are moving smoothly. The city has no issues with those. We did just close out the other project, the tube manufacturing project did get a final inspection, got a certificate of occupancy earlier this week, so that one is officially closed out. I had one order to appear today, which was the property at 315 East Market, the Greensfelder building. I had sent a notice to appear to the owner, Marie Jacquith. I also copied the mortgage holder, Indiana Landmarks, requesting that they both appear today. I don't know if anybody here is representing either one of them. If not, the property was demolished in an emergency action on January 30. We brought the building down to the ground, secured it with barriers. We have been attempting to, since that point in time, to get the owner of the property and or the mortgage holder to remediate the balance of the site, clean the site up, and get it secure. We've had no communication or cooperative effort from the owner of the property. I have had conversations with Indiana Landmarks. They are obviously bound by legality because of the mortgage holder and not the actual property owner. So at this point, I would ask permission of the board to allow the city to go in and do a final cleanup and get the site cleaned up and get the foundation filled with granular material and backfilled and get it safe and level. And then once the cleanup is done, then submit the billing to the owner of the property, and if the owner does not pay for that cleanup, as well as the emergency action cost, then we place a lien on the property.
Okay, I guess my question is, as far as the property cleanup, I understand through conversation with Department of Public Works that they believe that they could handle this cleanup.
Yeah, our approach with that with the city's street department is that we're going to do this in a cooperative effort. There's a contractor that does demolition. He's going to go in and sort the material out, basically sort the brick in one location and the debris in the other. And then I believe Dan's group, the highway department, is going to transport the brick, but then the contractor will haul the rubble to the landfill to minimize expense.
Sure. Yeah, that's all I'm thinking about is minimizing the expense. So, are there any questions regarding 315 East Market?
I have none.
None. Any questions or comments from the public? All right. I would make the motion that we order the property be cleaned up at the earliest convenience, and when the coordination between the two different groups can be arranged.
I second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Any public comments? All right, hearing none. All in favor of ordering the property at 315 East Market Street to be cleaned, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It passes on a vote of 3-0.
Okay. The next issue that I have, or item that I have, and you brought up earlier, the 207 and 211 East Linden Avenue property. We're back again at the end of January. We had a storage building that was built partially on top of the concrete head wall abutting the riverbank. The head wall had failed and collapsed into the river, and consequently the back half of the structure had also collapsed into the river, depositing debris. We've been working with the owner at 211 East Linden, who has insurance. His insurance company has come back and saying they will not pay for any of the remediation. His policy exclusively relates to the residents and not auxiliary structures, so they will not cover any of that cost. We have had discussions with the DNR, who have waived any responsibility or requirements for any of the cleanup or wall repair. It's not in their area. We've had discussions with the Army Corps of Engineers based on your recommendation last week. We have talked with the Army Corps of Engineers. If we go in and on the existing bank as it exists today, just slope it back, mulch it, and seed it, as part of our cleanup process, there is no permit required from the Army Corps of Engineers. If we go in and introduce anything as in concrete, riprap, or any wall, there is a permit requirement through the Army Corps of Engineers. Because it is a very small section of the wall, less than 100 feet, it's a very simple process to work through with Army Corps of Engineers. Their office and our office can do this basically through the internet, just sharing documentation and signing off. They have seen pictures of the site, so they are aware of what we're dealing with. There's some specific situations on site. I gave you each a photograph of the site. There is a large tree that is on the left-hand side of the picture, which is on the west edge of the property. The large tree is only about 4 feet off the inside face of the original head wall. To slope the bank back at a required 2-to-1 slope and not endanger that tree or deal with the tree, it's an impossibility. We can't slope it. So in my written walkthrough on this property, what I had proposed to do, this is a proposal, and I've had verbal discussions with the street department as well as the contractor that had given a number to remove the garage. But at this point, I need to point out I am a little leery or concerned about establishing a precedence for repairing the river head wall being placed the burden of the city. This property is, I'd like to say unique, but it's probably not the next time a wall collapses. We have one property that is owned by an individual that has been very elusive and is refusing to respond to anything. And Jeff Murray owns the property at 207. So we have no immediate beneficial way to recapture cost from this individual. Long term, yes, but immediate, no. The property owner at 211 is a hardworking man with a family, but he does not have the financial capability to pay for this repair. So kind of a difficult situation as far as the burden of responsibility. But the most simplistic way I think that we can do this is that we can install some concrete blocks. Now these blocks are basically 2 foot by 2 foot square, but they're 6 foot long. And we can get those from a couple of the local concrete plants that basically there's a remnant pieces of concrete and they just build these blocks out of material that comes back. So we can do that. We can put these in on a stair-step mechanism. The first layer would be closest to the riverbank, and then the next layer would be slightly towards the earth and slightly. So basically you stair-step it back to stabilize that slope. That, at this point, is the most economical way to go about it. The option we had looked at driving some sheeting, steel sheeting, in on the riverbank edge. The problem with that is you can't get enough depth on the sheeting to support the height that's exposed, so that's not recommended. We looked at digging out, pinning, and pouring concrete walls. That becomes a 5 times cost factor, which doesn't make any sense unless the city truly has to take the burden of responsibility on to install a permanent 100-year fix. Then the other thing would be to slope it back, put rock material on top of that, and just walk away and leave it. But we can't get the required slope based on the tree that's there, so I don't think that's a method that gets us 100% satisfaction. So the block step method appears to be the most economical. It gets us the end result that we need to get a stable slope. So I would recommend that block method be used, and as I show here in my estimate of cost, it's going to be somewhere between $7,500 and $8,000 is our projection. That is with a lot of cooperation from the street department as well as a lot of cooperation by a local contractor. Again, that cost would be split in half, and it would be assigned as a billable to each one of the property owners, and in the event they didn't pay, then we would apply it as a lien to the property. That is what I would recommend there. But as a side note, I think as a city, we need to, what this has shown me, there are some plats, and I say some, but I think there could be a lot of the plats of the property that will run abut the river, that the plats define property ownership up to the concrete head wall. It doesn't not say including the concrete wall. As you know, thinking if I were an attorney, how I would interpret that, up to means you don't own the wall, you own up to it. So I think that's something that between the Army Corps of Engineers and the city, and the only reason I include the Army Corps of Engineers, they have an abundant supply of resources as well as historical knowledge. How do we continue to deal with the system? Because as we both know, as we all know, the head walls are a concern in a lot of the property locations up and down this river. So just as a future, and we will be working towards try to gain a definition as to what to do in the future. But I do would like to make it very clear to the board and the public that we would not like this to be an assumed responsibility of the city to repair concrete head walls for property owners.
Right. I see, at least what I think I see here on your report regarding 207 Linden Avenue, you mentioned riprap, but you didn't mention the steps, the
2x2.
the 2x2 steps.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I mentioned the concrete block barriers, and thought concrete barriers at the bottom of the bank, and I should have alluded a little bit better than that. But yeah, we would stair step that up to an elevation to where we could then get the slope on a 2-to-1 slope back towards the residence.
So you're going to have to lose the tree regardless.
Well, we hope not. We hope not. We hope that we can somehow install those blocks. The way I would envision it is at the east and the west end of the property, we will have blocks up to the existing finished grade that's there. And as we're stair stepping from the river up, we're also stair stepping down towards the center. So as you look at it from the opposite side of the river, when we're done, you should see something that goes down like this. But also it can, it's stair steps from the riverbank back into the property. I mean, the ultimate goal is to stabilize the bank to a height that we can gain a 2-to-1 slope back from the top of the block back, and then seeded mulching.
Sort of a peculiar position here, aren't we?
Unfortunately, it's one that it may not be that peculiar with the age of the head wall.
You have any thoughts?
Well, we have a situation where there's still the debris is on the bank, washing away every time the river gets high. So we need to do something about that. The building it's in a dangerous situation, needs to be taken care of. And I believe that the recommendation that's been supplied by our building commissioner has, I mean, I'm not a construction person, but I think it makes sense to me.
Who owns the tree? Is that with the Murray
Jeff
property?
Murray's property.
Yeah.
So there's no way to contact him to...
No, I mean, the code enforcement officer, even on an outside shot, attended the small claims court this week in hopes he might be able to find him there, but he didn't show him. We really are trying to do whatever we can short of,
Yeah.
I can't say short of what.
And just your opinion, but on the tree, which house is in the most dangerous, precarious situation if the tree happens to fall, in your opinion?
The way the tree lays, I would say 207 is Linden, because and in sharing the photos with the Army Corps of Engineers, they have also concurred the same thing. The fear is that the banks weathers away on the root on the riverbank side. The top of the tree is going to list to the north, based on that's where the root factor is going to keep pulling it down to, and the tree will fall to the house. Now, the best case would be is that if the bottom of the tree base washed away and the tree slid down the bank, then it probably would not fall over on the house, but it would just list at the bottom of the bank. I mean, it's not a good situation. I mean, we could go in, we could cut the tree down. Again, we would have to get permission of the landowner. It would require the 10-day notice routine and the whole 9 yards. And we're, it's just not a, it's not a project that's, that you can resolve to all the best avenues, less the city taking some burden of responsibility.
So in order to do the 2-to-1 slope, as the Army Corps suggested, and if that tree is within that 2-to-1 slope and can't be stabilized, and we still have to have some type of an emergency hearing to take it down, to serve notice to the property owner that we're taking it down?
Yeah, if we got a letter from the Army Corps of Engineers that clearly stated that the best method of repair is to bring the slope to a 2-to-1 slope, and that's their recommendation, then we could go in and remove the tree under an emergency action because we have no choice. That could be possible. We could get to that point. But even at a 2-to-1 slope with seeding and mulching, I think it's an issue that we can never say that the river coming up won't continue to work in there and cavitate it. We create the slope. My feeling is that we bear the burden of responsibility if it ever did cavitate, back in and start to damage the property more. Just as a note, I mean, we will issue letters to each one of the property owners, clearly stating the position and clearly stating that the owners are going to be required to sign off, taking responsibility for the situation once our work is complete. We will do that. 211 East Linden is not going to be an issue. He understands the method, and he will certainly sign the agreement. We will not, in my opinion, ever get an agreement on 207 East Linden, though, from Mr. Murray.
My suggestion is we take the recommendation of our building commissioner.
Is that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion that we do that, and the 2-to-1 slope puts the tree in jeopardy. I'd say take it down as part of the plan. I don't know that we have. What I don't want to have happen is have that tree fall over in like 205.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is an emergency, it's an emergency.
Yeah, I'd make a motion we just do that.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion regarding 207, 211 East Linden Avenue? All right, hearing none. All in favor of taking the recommended action of the building commissioners, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on vote of 3-0. Anything else?
No, sir.
I would make a motion that we accept the building department report in its entirety.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Code enforcement officer.
Good morning again.
Looks like you've been busy this week.
Yeah, just a little bit. I'll try to be as brief as I can. I know this meeting has been rather extended, but I've got in front of you a copy of my report this week. It's an unusually large number of people who didn't follow through on their first letter to clean their properties up. I'll go through them real quick here, and then if you would like, we can vote on the ones I've recommended for cleanup as a package. Would probably be the best way to expedite this. Doug Hines, the people there, his maintenance people called and asked for a 2-week extension on that at 917 Vine Street, which I gave.
Wait.
9 where?
917 Vine. Okay, let me.
Do that on the
It
list.
should be on the second page of my report.
Okay, 917 Vine.
I don't think I did.
The second page of your report's not coinciding with the other 9 violations here. Let's see. I've got nothing on 917 Vine.
Okay. There's pictures and we'll just make sure I get that back to my file.
No, it's this, it's missing.
Oh, that's, okay.
917
They
Vine.
have made quite a bit of significant headway, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
It's just, we don't have 917 Vine. We don't know yet. So there's the pictures of 917 Vine.
So you've asked for 2 weeks for 2 additional weeks for them to do their.
Yes. Next, Vinod Gupta, 1626 East Broadway. This is an out-of-state property owner. Repeat offender throughout this year and last year. That has been cleaned up. 1603 Michigan Avenue. I believe, Chris, this is one that you asked me to follow up on. He had a couple truck toppers or truck beds in his yard and a bunch of stuff on his front porch. That one has been cleared by the property owner.
1603 Michigan?
1607, 1603.
Cleared?
Cleared, yes. Next one is another repeat offender. Property is owned by Tom Pasquale at 2005 North Street. I have sent repeated letters out to him, made repeated attempts to contact him personally to no avail. That one is on the recommended list for the city to clean up.
Okay, so it came back, the letter came back?
Yes, it came back.
What address did you send it to?
I sent one to the address at 2005 North Street, and I sent one to an address that was listed in 39 degrees north on Lake and Heath, which I know at one time was his personal residence. I don't know if he still resides there or not.
107 Lake and Heath, yeah. There it is. February 20. I make the motion that we order property cleanup at 2005 North Street.
Second?
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor of ordering a property cleanup at 2005 North Street, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes on a vote of 3-0.
611 Vine Street has been cleared. Uh, 124 West Linden Avenue, a Jeff Murray property. I don't think we need to go into any details there. We never get any response. I've recommended a cleanup for that one. And if you look at the pictures, you can see he's got a really nasty looking mattress and box springs leaning up beside the garage. The second picture shows trash laying outside of a garage. The garage door has no door on it, and there's a large amount of rubbish and trash inside that garage. I would also ask that we clean anything up out of public view in that garage, since there's no garage door on it.
I would make the motion that we order the property cleanup at 124 West Linden Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the property cleanup at 124 West Linden, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0.
604 Culbertson, they asked for, and I granted them a 2-week extension. 1723 North Street, it's several boxes, 3 or 4 boxes of just cardboard trash that's been sitting out there. I've knocked on the door, I've sent them letters, and everything that I've sent them was returned, not accepted.
Is the house occupied?
It appears that it was, or that it is.
And
but,
this is the property owner?
That's the owner of record, yes.
Yeah, I make the motion that we order the property cleanup at 1723 North Street.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor of ordering the property cleanup at 1723 North Street, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0.
The next property there at 2119 Spear Street, if you look at the first picture of all the 5-gallon buckets with the tar, the buckets have been removed. However, the trailer with the big tank is still there. I want to point out that this is a gentleman who is running a business out of his residence and uses his residence to store the trailer. He was requested to appear. Notification was received and signed for by his wife. My big concern, if you look at the picture of the trailer laying on the ground in the back, kind of the lower left corner there, you can see where it appears that over time there's been asphalt sealer leaking out onto the ground and pooling there and getting hard. I think it's a health hazard as well as a very unsightly. I sure wouldn't want to look at it if I lived next door to it in the area. And I think, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, you may have gotten a complaint on this one and pointed it out to me at one time or another.
I don't remember.
Don't remember? Okay.
You say the buckets are cleaned up?
The buckets are cleaned up, but the trailer with the tank is still there, and you can see in the back the leakage, the seepage from the tank onto the ground.
Mhm.
Wow.
The plates on the trailer are expired by 2 years also.
Yeah, I'll give him a call. I'm going to recommend to the board that we postpone action on this for another week, and that is in the form of a motion. And I would like to have the opportunity to reach out to the owner of the property and ask him to take action on it, other than force it. So that is in the form of a motion.
That's it.
It's been moved and properly seconded to extend the action at 2119 Spear Street for at least one more week. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0 to grant an extension.
The next one is 901 Race Street. I want to point out that this is directly across the street from the new trail. The gentleman called, he acknowledged that he received the letters. He was rather arrogant with me, told me that as long as he had it covered with a tarp, he didn't have to do anything with it, and his intentions were to leave it there. But you can see it is pretty unsightly. Actually, the entire house is.
This is 901 Race Street.
Yeah.
I'll get Chris's picture, it's better.
Your call. I'd order a cleanup at 901 Ray Street.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion or any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor of ordering the property cleanup at 901 Ray Street, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0.
The last one I've got is 1931 Spear Street. Again, this is no Jeff Murray property, so we don't really need to go into a lot of detail other than since I did make notification, I hung the door hanger on the front door, received nothing back, no acknowledgement whatsoever. I do want to point out that since these pictures were taken, there has been additional furniture, upholstered furniture set out by the alley.
Are there people living in the house?
I'm assuming there's somebody that lives in the house, yes.
I'd make a motion to order the property cleanup at 1931 Spear Street.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of ordering the property cleanup at 1931 Spear Street, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Is that all your report?
That's it, unless you have any questions for
I
me.
make a motion that we accept the report in its total.
I would second that motion. It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion or public comment? All in favor of accepting the code enforcement officer's report as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes on a vote of 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent of Public Works.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Great. I respectively submit my report for the Public Works Department, which includes the Street Department and also Mount Hope Cemetery. If you have time to thumb through it, I would hope that you approve it. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Dan, I, again, had a very nice compliment for you and your staff last week for the funeral of Don Heckard. The family was most appreciative. It was coincided around the time of the snow, and the streets were clear, especially inside the cemetery, and the area near the gravesite itself was, they said, just absolutely couldn't have asked for any more than the way that you guys done it. And
I will pass that on, and I do thank you. and the
thank
board.
you.
I would like to thank you for fixing Hopper Street. My car didn't fall in a hole today.
I would make a comment that I didn't know where Hopper Street was, but I would
I
be
wasn't gonna say
lying.
that.
So it's one of those that you have to learn. Thank you, though.
Okay. Are there any questions for Superintendent of Public Works?
Hearing none, I would make a motion for the approval of the report submitted by the Superintendent of Public Works.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion or public comments? All in favor of accepting the report as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes
Thank
on a
you.
vote of 3-0. Thank you. Chief Clark?
I've submitted my monthly report to you for review and would entertain any questions you have.
Any
I have
questions?
no questions. I would make a motion that we approve the police chief's report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion or public comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0.
I would like to give you also a quick update. Hopefully by the end of this month, I will bring before to the board ask for approval for 2 hires. I'm waiting on medical clearance for those, and hopefully get it by the end of the month.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
And last, we have Chief Mark Strong.
Last but not least. Morning.
Morning.
Submitted my report. Any questions?
Was there a fire last night?
Was there a fire last night? No.
Okay. I had someone ask me this morning, and I didn't know about that.
Can you give us a status report on Rescue 6 responding outside the city limits?
Well, we extended the offer. We're going to have a fire chiefs meeting with all the departments in the county, and
You know when that's
Try to-
scheduled?
try to hash things out. No, we got our next meeting we have. We were going to just call, see if we could have a fire chiefs meeting afterwards. We have a
When is
County
that?
Fire Association meeting. It's next month. I'm not sure.
April.
Exact date. We did run in the Washington Township trustee and his advisory board got together and they reconsidered. They said they're really only responsible for fire protection and not for any kind of medical or accidents or anything like that, so they felt it wasn't their decision. The fire chief at Walton does want us to respond out there, so he's...
Are we responding yet?
No,
We're not responding yet?
no. We've got to get something in writing from him, and he would like to get together with all the fire chiefs, and so we're working on that.
Okay. Keep us posted if you would, please.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for the fire chief?
Motion to approve the fire chief's report.
It's been
Second.
moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor of approving the fire chief's report as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass it on a vote of 3-0. Is there any board member comments? None. Miscellaneous business, including any matters not already considered?
None.
All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.